Welcome to the Digital Business Evolution Podcast, a place that you can now call home. I know you're creating long-lasting impact in this world, and you absolutely deserve the time, location, career, and financial freedom that you desire. I'm here to guide you with proven strategies, tools, and mindset hacks that I've taught to thousands of business owners. You'll also be hearing from exceptional guests sharing stories of their own personal and business evolution. My name is Jessica DeRose, and I'm here to teach you what I'm learning. We are all inherently worthy, regardless of the number of degrees, awards, and accolades that we've collected along the way. Grab a notebook, a coffee, and enjoy the show. Hey, I'm jumping on real quick to let you know about a really cool opportunity to work with me completely for free. So every Tuesday, I'm offering coaching over texting. And that means the first 10 people to text me on my number and ask me a question, I'm going to coach them back completely for free. Voice memos, long form text, it 100% is me. This is the stuff that lights me up most in my business. So your questions can be anything from business to strategy, working with your spouse, RV life. Really, there are no questions off the table. You just need to make sure that you get it in quickly on Tuesdays because I am only coaching the first 10 people. So my number is 973-358-7836. This is for US numbers only. Make sure on Tuesdays you text me your questions. I'll get you your answers, and you'll be added to my text community where you're going to be getting different texts from me throughout the week. Strategies, motivation, all the things. So 973-358-7836. Can't wait to hear from you. Hello, what is up, Digital Business Evolution Podcast? I'm so excited because I'm sitting across my Zoom screen from the one, the only, the beautiful soul, beautiful heart, and dear friend, Megan Windhorst. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, I'm so excited. So Megan and I first connected, almost 2 years ago. Megan was actually a client. She came through Empower, and what she has been able to build is just incredible. So let me give you the formal introduction of Megan, and we're going to dive into some really juicy topics today that I think are going to pique interest if you're not already there, because this is not your average business coach or nutrition coach like I normally talk to. Megan, well, I don't want to spoil it. Megan is known as Coach Megan Nicole, and she's the owner and CEO of Megan Nicole Coaching, LLC. Megan is, are you ready for this? An intuition coach who's helping people master their own intuition so they can follow their soul's calling confidently. She's a former school counselor and elementary school teacher, just like me, turned full-time entrepreneur. She's certified Reiki master teacher, certified mindfulness practitioner, and in July, she will be a breathwork facilitator. She's also an intuitive who does readings for people using her clairvoyance. This is what I'm so excited to talk about. And of course, her own intuition. She's the founder of the Intuition Mission, a group coaching program on intuition development, which was created after multiple clients began asking her to help them develop their own intuition and spiritual gifts. This 12-week program is a culmination of everything Megan has learned about intuition and spiritual development over the past 10 years. And I will tell you, I know the insides of this program, and it is so incredible. As a natural born and meant to be teacher, Megan left the education world to follow her purpose and teach people in her own way through intuition development so that people could learn how to truly trust themselves again in order to live in their purpose. Megan, I'm so excited to have you here today because there is a topic that is all the buzz that I want to get into, but I also just want to give you the floor for a second to just do a little brief background, because I was reading a little bit about your story, which is funny. We've worked together for so long and I didn't even know all of this. And I was reading about how at such a young age, you had your first few experiences with clairvoyance. So give us a little intro, take us all the way back as far as you can, and just give us a little brief synopsis of what that even means.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, everyone has an intuition, and intuition is just like our gut knowing, our gut feeling, our inner knowing, the little voice within, right? So that's nothing like spiritual or anything. That's something that it's tangible, it's real, scientific. Everyone has an intuition. But clairvoyance is everyone has the clairs. There's different kind of clairs like clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairalience. There's a lot of different ones, and we can all tap into that. So I knew that later on, I figured out that I did have this as a child here and there, because we all do,
Yeah.
but it just kind of ends up getting shut off when we're kids. We learn to start to trust other people other than ourselves. So that's kind of what happened to me when I was a kid. I grew up just trusting my parents and trusting teachers, everyone except for me. I learned that I don't trust myself. And so it even morphed into me being super shy when I was a kid and not even talking. I developed perfectionism and didn't even want to make mistakes because I was so afraid to make those mistakes. And so I didn't even really talk very much in school and growing up. And I learned to get validation and worthiness through sports and being a really good student. And so it was, that's how I got my worthiness. And so I didn't trust myself at all. And it wasn't until I was about 20 years old, which is really young still, when I was in college, I got mono really severely and I ended up in the ER. And at the same time, a friend of mine died of cancer the same week. And so that just kind of really shook up my soul at a really deep level. And just a couple months after that, my aunt died unexpectedly. So all of that culmination of those three really traumatic experiences at once just really shook me up at a deep level. And I started to experience first, it was like really extremely lucid dreams that really vivid that I could remember. Like the very next day, I would wake up and I would remember. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I would wake up and I would remember these dreams. Even just like deceased loved ones would constantly come into my dream and it felt really real. So I'd wake up crying or something like that. And I had never really, that I could remember, experienced that before. And so I grew up Catholic and I was not used to this stuff. And I was like, what is going on with me? I started having visions. So that's what clairvoyance is. It's clear seeing. So it's like your imagination. It just is like a picture that pops in your head. And it would just come into my head here and there. And so I was not used to that.
While you're awake or while you're sleeping?
While I was awake. At first it was like all like sleeping, but then when I was awake, it was like, it was happening here and there. And I just like literally didn't know what was going on and thought I was going crazy at first. And so I started just getting help, trying to find out what was happening with me. And it wasn't till I found the spiritual teacher in my community who started to teach me all about spirituality. And that's kind of how it started.
Okay, so let's go back for a second because I was going to ask you this when you started talking. I feel like maybe this is a story that I'm creating, but I feel like people who maybe hear the word clairvoyance just relate it to, oh my gosh, you see dead people, right? Like that's what I think of when I think of clairvoyance. It's either you're a psychic and you could see the future, or you're from the Sixth Sense movie and you see dead people, right? So clairvoyance, you said, is really clear seeing.
Yeah, clear seeing. So seeing deceased people and seeing spirit, that would be called mediumship, which I do have the real ability to do that as well. I just choose not to. So if it comes in when I'm doing readings, because I still do one-on-one readings with people, then I allow it. But there's a lot of boundaries, just like you have boundaries with people. There's a lot of boundaries that I've had to learn with the spiritual realm as well. And so I just allow that to come in when I'm doing readings if it fits. But I'm really here to help people that are here, and I'm here to help them with their life and their life path. So yeah, it's I've learned to really allow that ability of clairvoyance to assist my purpose and assist people with furthering their path.
So when I think of coaching, and I've talked about this a lot, the difference between teaching and coaching, which funny enough, you're both, as am I, we all are. So teaching is when you're really delivering a message or education or how to, and you kind of drop it off and you essentially leave and you're not necessarily connected to whether or not the person understands it or if they follow through with it. Where coaching is a lot more of this back and forth. You're guiding somebody to make their own decisions and, find their own answers. So when you're doing a reading for someone, are you telling them what to do? Are you guiding them and just helping them lean into their own intuition? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's how my business started, was doing readings. And I quickly realized, wait a second, I want people to learn this for themselves. I don't want to be the person that they're depending on, which again is like, is pushing that codependency, right? And trusting somebody else.
But it's so much easier. Just tell me what to do.
Yeah, it is. You don't have to think, right? That's when I met my spiritual teacher. She was amazing. And I loved her and I credit a lot of this to her, but I was learning things, and then it was like, here you go. And I wasn't getting the support, the coaching that I needed. And I didn't, even at that point, I didn't really know that coaching existed actually. And so I later realized I want to teach people to rely on themselves. And so that's how I got into coaching. Is so when I do my readings, it's more like I'm kind of channeling different messages from the universe to that person. Whatever comes out, comes out. So it's not necessarily, sometimes I'm teaching here and there, but it's more in my coaching containers that I'm actually supporting long term, and allowing people to learn how to do this themselves and learn how to trust themselves. So that's where I feel like the gold nugget is in the coaching more than anything.
Okay. So the other day, truth be told, I was flicking through Netflix looking for something to binge or Hulu or something. And I came across this guy, I think his name is Tyler, and he's a medium and he has got a show. And so I found it to be really interesting before he does a reading. Again, he's a medium, so it's a little bit different. Like you were saying, he really connects with the deceased. But when he does his readings, he scribbles on paper. And I don't know exactly what that is, if that's just how he channels his energy, if that's how he's connecting, or if his scribbles mean anything. He didn't really talk much about it. And I only really watched one episode. But is there something that you personally do to sort of, what I would say is drop in? So to drop in, to connect to source, power, whatever that might be, the universe, so that you can channel these messages. And is it something that we can all be doing, or do we each kind of have individual little things that we would do to drop in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I teach this in my program, the Intuition Mission, where it's like the foundations of intuition and connecting. And if you want to tap into that kind of energy, there's so many different things you can do. So like he does the automatic drawing or writing, they call it. I use oracle cards. I don't need them to do readings, but it is easier. And that's one way that I've started, really. So I use oracle cards. I'd say that's probably one of the easiest ways to start.
Do you have a favorite deck?
Yes, actually, it's right in front of me.
Of course.
This one, Work Your Light Oracle Cards by Rebecca Campbell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have that deck.
It's my favorite. Yeah, I love it.
How do you pick your deck?
It's a feeling. And so it's just really, it's like almost like a hell yes in my body. It just feels like a lighter feeling. So it's just almost like if I look online, I'm just like, ooh, it's excitement. It's a sudden excitement. So then I just go with it. I trust it. So, there's also people use pendulums. That's one way.
Sure.
So, and then, really Reiki is also just another almost gateway to like open up your abilities and your energy. So that is one way that kind of like leveled me up when I got trained in Reiki. So those are just a few different ways that you can kind of access that.
Amazing. So we've got automatic drawing or writing for you, oracle cards, pendulum. If you're not familiar with that, it looks usually like a little crystal hanging on like a chain. Yeah. And there's a practice that you can do where you essentially are letting it sort of swing or move in certain directions. Yeah. And you preset it with, if it swings one way, it's like a yes. If it swings the other way, it's kind of a no, right?
Yeah. And you can literally use a necklace. Like sometimes I take this off and I use it to show clients because for some reason I can never find my pendulums. So you can use a necklace and put it over your hand, and then you just activate it and you can say, show me yes. And it'll go back and forth, whichever way yes is for you. And then show me no. And then you ask a question. So it's usually simple questions. If they're like really complicated questions, then it's not really what they're supposed to be used for, but it's just good fun usually is what I think. Yeah.
And the intention there really is, so a perfect example, if you're listening right now, I could hold the pendulum or a necklace that has a charm on it. And I would say, show me yes. And then I would ask something like, my name is Jessica, which it is. And so it would swing a certain direction, and that would indicate that direction now means yes for my next question. Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And then the last one that you said was Reiki, which you can do self Reiki.
Yeah. Yeah. So you need to get attuned by a Reiki teacher, and they go through the attunement process. And so it's almost like they open you up to Reiki energy. It's a Japanese healing technique by using your hands. So it's kind of confusing and kind of hard to like grasp at first. But once you start doing it, it's like, wow, this is amazing. And what I always tell people is your hands start to get hot, and that's kind of how you know it just like it's flowing flowing through you. So I just always imagine that it's like energy going through the crown, the top of my head, and flowing in through my body and out through my hands and then onto the person. And so it's something that's actually widely being used in hospitals and things like that now. So that's why it's important to, if you're going to go through with being a practitioner, to get actually certified. And especially through it's called the International Center for Reiki Training, the ICRT. That's what a lot of organizations and hospitals are looking for these days, is to be trained by them. So, and I am a teacher for that. So I do certify people in that.
Okay. So I'm like, the questions just keep coming up now. This is incredible. So we'll come back, I promise. My first Reiki session, I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I was a competitive gymnast, and I had hurt myself, or I had chronic pain always. And there was a girl on my gymnastics team whose mother was a Reiki healer and a Reiki master and facilitator. And now this is back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I had tried a lot of different things and traditional medicine and all of that. And so my mom started leaning into more holistic approaches. So she brought me to this woman, shout out to Cass was her name. And she did Reiki on my ankle. And I don't know that it quote unquote worked, right? Like I don't remember it working. It didn't help. It didn't heal, but I didn't believe that it could. So here I was 7, 8 years old thinking this woman was kind of weird, right? Like she was very eccentric, the way that she dressed, the way that she acted. She wasn't like the other moms. Yeah. And so here she is holding her hands, 4 inches off of my ankle, kind of breathing and making moaning and groaning sounds. And I'm like, lady, my ankle's not getting better. So is there a level of belief that needs to happen or unlock before someone can really, benefit from all the practices that you're teaching and all the methodologies that you're using? Because what I feel like comes up a lot for you in whether it's clairvoyance, intuition, the BS meter has got to be really high. Like there's got to be people who think what you do is BS.
Yeah. And I'd say that's why I get mostly new people that come to me. It's from referrals. It's from people talking me up and talking about the different validation that I get or that they receive from me. Yeah. So yes, I totally agree. And yes, as well, I've noticed through my years of doing readings and Reiki, when the person feels that they're not believing in it or they need proof or something, they're almost blocking their energy from me getting through. And it's actually harder for me to do my job. So I've naturally started to attract the people that already believe and that I don't have to like quote unquote prove to them.
Yeah.
But yes, I do have that sometimes. And I find that I can suddenly feel their energy relax when I connect with them on something that's like really heartfelt. Like if I can connect to them on a personal level where I feel you're really compassionate, or I can feel that you're really good at listening to people and you're always the one that's there for people, things like that, where I can just feel their heart, their energy immediately relaxes and they open up and I'm able to read them easier or do Reiki easier. Reiki is actually a little bit easier to do anyways, because they immediately start to relax anyways. It might take a little bit longer, but sending them energy, it just, a lot of times they fall asleep. And when they're like that, it's easier to do. With Reiki, actually, I've never had somebody, not even once, really feel like they didn't get anything. So
Yeah. It's so interesting because you're talking essentially about like there's a resistance, right? When people have this block or this resistance, they're not open and ready to receive. It translates so much over into business as well and entrepreneurship. Like what you're saying, what I'm hearing is once they feel seen, heard, and understood, they're more open. And I always come to things with this business mind. And I'm like, when people feel seen, heard, and understood, they're much more open and receptive, whether that is to marketing, to coaching, to sales, to opinions, to new perspectives. So I love that what you're using essentially on the mind and body is exactly what I too would be using in something like marketing. So you're running this whole practice. I'm calling it a practice. You're running this whole business essentially virtually.
Yeah.
How do you get past the objection, and is it an objection that people would be able to do this work virtually, like Reiki? Because right now we're on a Zoom screen. So I'm like, can you Reiki me? Like, is that possible?
Yeah. Well, I really, again, it goes back to people talking me up and getting referrals. They trust that person so much that they
Mm-hmm.
just trust me, and we go with it. And when we have, it's almost always the first experience I have with somebody afterwards, they come back to me in some other form. So it's really just, it's a trust thing. And that's what intuition is. It's a trust game.
Yeah.
So, virtually, yeah, it is a little bit different. I still do Reiki sessions in person as well, but I can do it virtually as well. And I have great validation from my clients when I do virtual sessions. And so that keeps me going, and that keeps me feeling like, okay, this is really working. We're going to continue
Yeah.
with this. So it's a belief thing. It's a trust thing on both ends. So
Yeah. So trust. When you're putting together, you have your intuition mission, which is a group coaching program. And so group means there are multiple people. And so when you're putting together a group of multiple people and you're diving into something which I feel is very vulnerable for a lot of people, intuition, gut, understanding, energy, right? You're asking them to open up. You're helping them break down their own walls and resistance to open up. Are there any key things, like one or two things that you would tell any coach that's listening right now, even any parent, anyone with other people where we have relationships, things that maybe you do in your containers to ensure that it is a safe space? Like, how do you cultivate that safety?
yeah, so I would say my biggest, my best quality, I think, is relationship building. So I usually already build this relationship with each person individually, anyways. Most of my clients are coming to me from a different container, whether that be a reading or a Reiki session or a freebie type of situation. I have a free Facebook group as well where I do a lot of free readings on that, so they experience my energy, and so they already start to trust me. And when that happens, it's easier for me to develop this sense of trust with the group.
Mm,
I also talk a lot about confidentiality, and I was a counselor for many years.
yeah.
So that is something that's normal in my world. And so I feel like I'm able to cultivate this sense of trust, this deep trust. And that really helps, I think, to allow them to kind of let go a little bit and let me teach them and let me lead them.
Yeah. So walk me through what a reading would look like. What does a session look like with you when we're doing a reading? How do you kick it off? Do I come with questions? Can you help me with specific areas? Or are you literally just like, this is what you need?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yes. Yeah. So I always tell people to come with questions for sure. But what usually happens, and this is how I've always received readings as well from people like Rebecca Rosen. She's kind of a big psychic medium that's in Colorado. She does hers this way as well. There's several that do it this way. So I always start with, I allow us both to take a couple of deep breaths. And when we're doing that, I'm just energetically connecting. So I'm imagining like a energetic cord going from my heart to your heart. And I'm allowing us to just calm. I'm just kind of asking the universe to calm both of our energies, because when we're calmer, we can connect easier. And then from there, I use my Oracle deck and I actually randomly pick cards. I don't shuffle them a certain way. It's really random. I just allow my intuition to guide me, and I lay them out in the same spread every time. It's called the cross spread, which is like a tarot thing, and I kind of mix it all up. It's really random that I do it, but it always works. So I lay it out in this certain spread. I flip the cards over, and that's kind of like when I start to get what I call, and a lot of people call, downloads. So it's random visions that come to me, and it's almost like I can put these thoughts, these words to the visions really quickly, which that's called claircognizance. It's clear knowing. So it's just these thoughts kind of just come through me, and I just start to say whatever messages come at first. And usually, almost always, the very beginning of the reading is the most important part, and that's the part that they really needed to know more than anything at this time anyways. And after I'm done saying these messages, then I allow them to open up for questions. So if they have their list of questions, then I allow them to ask questions, and then I just answer however my intuition allows me. So for example, they might say, I'm really struggling with my relationship right now. Is this person ever going to change? Am I ever going to change? Are we going to get together? That kind of thing. And then whatever my intuition is guiding me, I will start to get visions on that. And then it'll again, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to put into words how it works. It's energy, and it just kind of comes out. And then that's the reading usually. So
How long is a reading generally? Is it like an hour session?
Yeah, right now I'm doing them for 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has there ever been something that you didn't want to say that came through and you were like, oh God, I don't want to tell this person this thing?
Gosh, yes, there has.
Do you tell them anyway?
That time I did. And I felt like it was about a relationship, and I felt like it kind of saved their relationship. I don't want to take credit for that,
Sure.
But I felt like that really got them moving on changing some things within the relationship, because they did not want that relationship to end. And so now it's much better. But at first I held back, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I should say this. But then my intuition was quickly like, she's ready to hear this. So I don't always say everything that comes, because sometimes they're not ready, and I can feel that within them. So I try to make it as positive and enthusiastic as I can, because my biggest thing is I do not want people to leave being afraid. I don't want people to leave feeling stressed. I want them to leave feeling motivated and happy.
Yeah. So you're not just reading what's on the Oracle card, you're having your own download. Is the message on the card guiding you at all?
A little bit. It's more, I'm a very visual person, so it's more the pictures than anything. So like if I looked at these cards, I think I like the cards that have big pictures on them. So there's like small words on there.
Yeah.
But that's the big picture. And it's like almost I get a feeling or an image that's connected to the picture somehow. And sometimes I don't even really see the cards until later. A lot of times this happens where I start saying a message, and then all of a sudden my eyes go down and I look and I'm like, oh, the card is right here. And what I'm saying right now, it's right here. Let me show you. So that's also another thing that like helps build trust too, is that they see something tangible that I'm saying, and it's not like I'm making it up. So
yeah. Hey, I'm jumping in to tell you about our newest free tool, a tool that will change the way you approach your business. After working in digital marketing and the coaching space for nearly 10 years, working with thousands, scaling to multiple seven figures, and helping our clients generate over $11 million in revenue, I've recognized a pattern from all of the most successful coaches and entrepreneurs. They all have an awareness that struggling business owners don't have. You see, they know their unique coaching superpower. After taking this quiz, you'll uncover which of the 4 superpowers runs through your DNA. This awareness will help you discover your personal strengths and blind spots so that you can succeed faster, make a bigger impact, and exponentially grow your income. To take this free quiz, just head on over to jessglazer.com/quiz, and you'll be on your way to harnessing your superpower in minutes. Don't forget to share it and let me know which superpower you have. Tag me at I am Jessica DeRose. Do you have any prompts for someone? So I'm an Oracle card gal myself. I have, I don't know, probably 7 decks or so. I mean, we're summering in New Jersey and I have 4 decks here. So I think I left another 4 or so back at home in Scottsdale. But do you have a couple like really good prompts for people that are using the cards? Because I find that myself, and I know there's no right way, but I find that I often ask a lot of the same things, or they're just so open-ended. It's like, what do I need to hear today? What is my past self? What's the lesson from my past, present, and future? And it gets a little stale. It gets a little stale and boring. So do you have some good prompts? Are there types of questions that are more powerful than others? Like, yes, no versus short answer?
Yeah, that's a good question. The only one that I really do with myself these days are the ones that, what do I need to know today? And it's always spot on. And that's really the only one I do with myself. But I would say it's really like almost building a relationship with your Oracle deck. And that makes it even more like powerful. Yeah. It's like when I first get one, I will put my hands on it and I'll just like pretend that I'm putting my energy into it. I'm just like feeling myself just connecting to it. And I just ask the universe for me to put my energy into it. And that way it's like aligning to my energy. And I really just like will randomly sometimes draw a card and just see what it says. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a question that you're asking. But really, I would say it's just like practicing and getting to know the energy of the cards more than prompts, really. The cross spread that I do is kind of, if you Google it, it's kind of big, but that's kind of a fun one. It's a tarot spread, but I use these as tarot kind of. So that kind of has like what's currently going on right now in your life, what's going to happen in the next week, what happened in the last week, what's blocking you right now, what are you currently thinking about right now? And then there's like 4 cards on the side that's like the next 4 weeks, what's happening. So it's kind of a lot, but it's that's my most favorite spread.
Can you tell us the difference between oracle decks and tarot cards? Because they're not the same. I don't know if you can.
Right. Not really. I don't really study tarot too much. I was first introduced to it when I first started learning about spirituality, and it was really complicated to me, and I don't like complicated.
Yeah.
So I kind of switched to oracle and angel cards. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
But tarot's a lot older.
They're all the same, right? Like all the tarot cards from deck to deck are the same. Isn't that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're the same. Some of them just have different energy, kind of like oracle as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bit more complicated to me to learn. So I teach a little bit of it in my group, but I more so talk about oracle because that's easier to me. So
yeah. All right. So I want to shift gears here for a second. I made a joke before that, it's easier if you just tell me what to do. So I find that a lot of times in things like, maybe getting a reading or using an oracle deck in the morning, or learning about maybe like human design and Enneagram and all these different things, we love to put ourselves into little containers and boxes, which is fun. But sometimes we collectively are looking for external permission or validation. And so I know even with oracle cards, I've seen funny reels before where it's like, when you go to make a decision in your business, you got to pull your deck out. And it's like, we laugh about it, we joke about it. A lot of us use it as tools, but how do you discern sort of giving away your power and looking to an external, whether it's a person, a deck, a reading, to make decisions for you, and then literally leaning into your intuition, which is what you teach? Like, how do you discern the difference?
that's a great question. I really teach more about relying on yourself. I've been overly independent most of my life, so I'm learning more of how to like give in and accept help. But there's so much power in trusting yourself, and that's really how you build confidence in yourself. And so for me, I personally I don't get readings very much anymore, hardly at all. I don't use tools like the Oracle deck. Like I said, I only do like, what do I need to know to get today every day? And it's just for fun for me. Yeah. I don't make decisions using external tools. I literally use my body, my intuition. And that's what lights me up when teaching, because it's like, at the end of the day, that's all you have. And that's what you can rely on is yourself. So I really rely on my intuition more than anything.
All right. So there are definitely people listening to this episode right now that are like me, in the sense that here I am, I'm 38 years old, and I, for lack of a better term, don't hear my intuition. I don't know if I've shoved it down, or if just living in New York City, go, hustle, grind, push. I don't know exactly what it is, or just maybe at a young age, I started to kind of like push it down and listen to other things like many of us do. I love that you said earlier you were developing perfectionism. I think it's definitely a developed thing. I too developed it and have been working for many years to put it back to bed. So what do you say to someone who's like, I get it, but for me, I don't get an overwhelming gut feeling, and I don't get an overwhelming intuition feeling. So when I see an opportunity or I'm invited to something, like, I don't have a very clear smack over the head, hell yes or hell no. I just don't. Now I might, it's deep down probably, right? And so what do you say to someone that's like, I don't hear my intuition, I can't even feel my gut? And then do you have tips or tricks or hacks or exercises that you can teach us so that we can sort of start to hear it more? Because I'm like, I don't hear it. I mean, that dark alley definitely looks scary. I'm not going to go down there, but that's about the extent of my intuition.
Life or death. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I would say come to the intuition mission so I can teach you how to do that.
Heck yes.
It is something that we have to relearn, because like I said, as kids, it does get shut down, and we start to not trust it, and we start to not listen to it anymore just due to society. But there's simple things that you can start to do to like understand what that feeling is. And it's really the biggest thing is, I would say, slowing down and getting calm, relaxing your nervous system so that you can feel your body more and get more connected to your body. So it's any kind of like body work, breath work, just really just taking things off of your plate, getting the stress out of your body, out of your energy field so that you can connect and tune in more. It's a lot of like vagus nerve stimulation. That is a big way to start to connect your mind, your heart, and your gut. That energy is really key. It's like the highway to like allowing yourself to feel more in tune with yourself and to understand those different gut feelings. Because a lot of us are in the fight, flight, or freeze response all the time, where a lot of us are. And so the vagus nerve is kind of blocked. And so to kind of calm that down, there's a lot of things you can do, like deep belly breaths and massage. And this sounds really woo-woo, but it does work. But chanting Om really loud and getting that vibration. It's the vagus nerve is like in the back of your brainstem, at the bottom of your brainstem, and it goes down the back of your neck and it branches out on both sides. And so that Om vibration or the massage even, it helps to stimulate it, and it helps it to like kind of release and connect to the parasympathetic nervous system to calm your body down. So that's huge. And just spending alone time with yourself, like really developing self-awareness. A lot of people, they choose to distract themselves, but with other people and other things so that they don't have to face their mind, because it is hard. But the more that you can do it, and I know it's scary, the more you can do it, the easier it's going to be to get to know yourself, release different beliefs and things like that. So that way you can start to understand what feels good to me and what doesn't feel good to me. And then just something really simple is, for me, I've realized my body does this like feeling of excitement when I have an intuition, like a yes in my intuition. So it's like the energy kind of goes up my stomach into my chest. And if it's a no, it's like a sinking feeling. It's like then that's like a no for me. So that's how I've discerned myself and have understood if it's a yes or a no, and how to really listen to myself.
Yeah. I love that you brought up it's scary. It's scary to sit with yourself and your own thoughts. And we distract ourselves, and there's so much noise, and it's so easy. It's so easy to be distracted, and it's so easy to ignore our own voices. And I know I've shared before, I've journaled my whole life. I meditated for 10 years and done breath work and all of that. And when we left New York City and we got in the RV, I swear it was the first time I ever heard myself. 14 months on the road, and I didn't necessarily like the thoughts that I was hearing. And it was the first time that I really felt like, yes, I was with Mike, we were together, we were traveling and doing things, but we were like alone. I mean, essentially we were there was more quiet than I had ever had. And I think even the duality of leaving literally New York City, 30-floor high rise, that we lived up in, and the sirens and the light pollution, which it's just normal. You think that it's normal. And it took an entire year for my central nervous system to really kind of quiet itself and to come back to what should be normal and to be much slower. And I started to hear myself, and I started to hear my thoughts. And that's where it got scary, because it was like, wait a minute, do I even believe that? Is that mine? Am I taking that from somebody else? And I'm an empath, like 10,000% empath. I have 7 of my 9 channels open. I feel everything. I cry on every coaching call, any commercial, right? So I was holding and taking on a lot of other people's stuff. And you mentioned earlier cords, connecting energetically with a cord. And I have done cord cutting ceremonies and cord cutting meditations for years. And I found that during RV life, I was doing it more often. Like I was doing cord cutting every single day from things and people that weren't even in my present life anymore, but I still was attached to them energetically, and I didn't necessarily want to be. So I've got to ask you this question. How do you distinguish between something that is new and uncomfortable, so it's out of my comfort zone, or it's out of alignment?
Oh, that's a good question. So it's almost like, is this fear or is this intuition? Yeah. So I know that for me, when I'm making a big decision, if there's excitement and fear together, then it's usually a yes for me. There's got to be some excitement or at least curiosity. So it's following the curiosity. That's your path. That's a yes. So most of the time when you're following your intuition, when it's something brand new and scary, it is going to be scary, right? It doesn't mean that it's a no for you. But a lot of times when it comes to intuition, you have to take a leap of faith. And it's almost like you've got to jump off the cliff and just trust that the universe is going to catch you. And that's what it is. It's a big trust game.
Yeah, I love that. I get asked that question a lot myself. Clients will often ask, like, do I know if this is a bad choice? Like, is this out of alignment for my business, or is this just new and scary? So I love that you brought in excitement and curiosity. It almost makes it really easy then to decide, because there's just certain things that, like, are a no, but also I think a lot of us have people pleasing tendencies, right? Or we don't want to let people down. I guess that would be people pleasing, or there's expectations, or we don't want to be rejected. And so sometimes we will do things that are out of alignment to make other people are happy, or to make our ego look a certain way, or to boost our ego. Stroke that.
And that's something that I teach people as well, as like, sometimes we just have to make the decision, because the most uncomfortable spot you can be in is in limbo. If you're thinking about sitting on a fence, that's really uncomfortable, right? You have to just get off one side or the other. You're going to be okay. You've made it this far. It's going to be okay. You're going to figure it out. And so it's like trusting in yourself, believing in yourself to make the decision, whether it's good or bad. Even if it doesn't work out, you actually probably learn more in the long run anyways. So I really teach people how to make decisions more, because a lot of my clients come to me that have a hard time making decisions. And I really find that a lot. So in our foundations of my programs, we talk a lot about decluttering and doing things like just decluttering our physical environment and decluttering your body, not putting junk in your body that blocks you and your intuition. Things like that will really help you. Those foundations will really help you to really have the discernment and know, what do I feel in my body? Is this a yes or a no? So that those big decisions that are scary will be easier for you to know if it's yes or no. So the foundations are critical.
So in your experience, is what I'm about to say common? I feel like it might be. The big, crazy, stupid decisions Mike and I make so fast. Like, I quit my job, he quit his job, we sold all our stuff, we did the RV, we jumped from one place to another. We've never lived anywhere longer than 2 years. We buy a house on a whim, like easy peasy lemon squeezy, as my kids used to say in school. But things like, should I get a haircut? Where are we going to go for dinner? I don't know what to wear. Which Oracle deck do I want to buy? I literally lose sleep over that stuff. Is that common in your experience? And why is it so easy for me to make such big life-changing decisions, but business, so easy, but the tiniest little, do you want another cup of coffee? I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know. Why?
Yeah, that is really common, actually. And I still find that within myself sometimes. I've actually found this is really interesting. I made this connection actually pretty recently. That happens to me more when I level up to a new level in my life, that I start to realize, oh, it's hard for me to make these small decisions. I got to get back to the foundations of my routines and spending more alone time, slowing down, calming myself down, decluttering. Those are my foundational skills. I need to get back to that so that I can be at this next level and in a stronger way. So that actually is very common. And so don't beat yourself up on that. That's very common. It's just as a reminder for me to get back to those foundational skills.
Okay. I love that. Good. I'm not alone. So I think you kind of just said it, but I'm going to ask, can you give our audience, I love tactical, tangible, teachable moments. So can you give our audience 3 things that they can start working on today or implementing today to really start to strengthen their relationship to their own intuition?
Yeah, I would say one would be really finding ways to get calm. That would be the number one thing. The very first thing you need to do is find a way to get calm and slow down. And whether that's just taking 10 minutes out of your day to meditate or take some deep breaths, do yoga. Number 2, I would say would be find something to declutter. So whether that's cleaning out your car, cleaning out your room, whatever it is. Even if you don't like doing it, think about how it feels afterwards. We all usually feel lighter and feel better. And when we declutter our physical environment, it declutters our energy and it opens up room and space in our energy. And so then our thoughts are easier to understand. And then I would say number 3, it's kind of like a bonus one. So it's like follow your curiosity, but also play. Find a way to strengthen that right side of your brain and the creativity. Get yourself into a playful mood. A lot of us are so serious, and that keeps our energy stuck. So the more that we can stimulate that playfulness inside of us, the more that intuitive energy just starts to flood our body.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into our speed round, I'm totally putting you on the spot.
All right.
Are you ready? Are you ready? What message do you have for me?
Oh,
do you have a download? Is there anything?
Oh, let's see.
Oh, this is exciting. I didn't warn her.
So there's two visions that come to mind. And the first one is a rainbow.
Oh.
So a rainbow, usually I don't get that. So we'll have to look up usually what spiritual, if I don't know what something means, I'll ask the person to Google spiritual meaning of rainbow or whatever. And sometimes that means something for you. So that could be something that resonates with you. So rainbow, and then also a sun is coming in as well. And this actually comes in a ton, especially recently for people. Yeah. And usually for me, the sun means to physically get out in the sun to help the, receive like light energy from the sun. It's so powerful and healing us. And then also it usually means to help keep yourself in a positive vibration. So sun is yellow, positive, happy. So that's always kind of what it resembles for me. So it's all about for you. It's like allowing yourself to continue to be in that like playful, dreamy state. That's what I feel like it's coming for me right now about rainbow, is like being in this dreamy state and allowing yourself to daydream more even. I know that you probably do this a lot, but I feel like it's a reminder that the universe and your spirit guides are like, remember to daydream and allow yourself to just like flow.
I love that. I'm totally receiving it. I went on to Google while you were bringing the other message in about the sun. Quick. It's so interesting though, because there's so many different meanings for all of them, right? So even this first article I pulled up, there's like 8 different reasons why you might see a rainbow or what it could symbolize. So I think it's so interesting because this is literally what you teach. It's now reading all these messages and discerning which one is for me and what do I want to take from it.
Yeah. And I teach that in my program too, about like how finding symbols and what they mean.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Tell us more about your program. Tell us more about how people can work with you. Tell us more about where they can find you.
Yeah. So the Intuition Mission is a 12-week group coaching program, and it's a virtual program. So we go through a lot of the foundations, like I've been talking about, of how to connect to your intuition and how to trust yourself more. It's also a big support system. So something that I really struggled with going through my first 10 years of spirituality and learning all of this was not having support. And so all of my rounds have felt like they are like a family now, and they continue to talk to each other and collaborate with each other. So that's a big thing, is having that support with each other. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Megan Nicole. We'll be launching our 4th round of the Intuition Mission the beginning of the fall. I also have a new program coming out as well in probably about August. Ooh. So it's going to be kind of a level up of the Intuition Mission. Not releasing the name yet, but and you don't have to do the Intuition Mission first. I will include that in this new program. So if you feel like this is something that you're wanting more advanced information on intuition, then that'd probably be more for you. I also do readings still, and my website is on Instagram as well. It's coachmegannicole.com, and I do Reiki sessions and teach Reiki as well. So I also do one-on-one coaching and intuition too.
Throwing this out there. Don't know if it's something you want to do, or maybe it's stirring something up, but it's coming through to me right now. Do you work with teams?
Oh, teams. As in, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. Do you come in and work with teams to help them better understand each other, or decision-making process, or energetic alignment for teams?
I would love to. I haven't yet. No.
Okay, cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because we've been bringing people into our team just to help with anything from, not so much culture, but I guess you could say culture, growth, understanding one another, doing readings of other types of readings. And it's just been really, really cool to be able to learn more about each other. Cause then we were able to work better together.
Yeah. I've done ones for like couples and stuff. So that kind of the same.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, we'll circle back about that. I'm like, I also think I need a one-on-one reading. So we'll have to connect for that. All right. Yeah. So speed round before we go, what are you currently reading?
Oh, Believe It by Jamie Kern Lima. Amazing.
Ooh, yeah. I've heard really good things. I haven't read that one yet. What is a favorite meal of yours?
Gosh, pasta popped in my head, but I'm doing a gut detox, so I can't have it right now.
What has been some of the best advice you've been given, life, business, either?
Oh gosh, best advice. I would say just jump. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah.
Coming from the intuition lady herself, she says, just jump. I love it. Yeah. If I were to write you a check today for $50,000, how would you use that in your business? What would you do with that?
That is a great question. I would definitely invest in mentorship. That's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
A team as well, getting some help. So probably those two things right away.
Incredible. It's been so cool watching you grow your business. I can't believe you're going to be on the 4th round already of Intuition Mission. I'm just so grateful to be a part, like the tiniest little part of your journey, having you as an Empower grad, being able to... I have
to credit you to this as well, because I created the Intuition Mission and Empower completely changed my life. It was just about a year and a half ago. And that's one thing that I had a leap with as well. Yeah. I had never made any investment really ever at that point. So it was scary for me. I was really new, but it was something that my intuition was screaming yes at. And so I took a little bit before I invested because I was scared, but I just jumped and I just did it, and it completely changed my life. So I credit a lot of this to you. So thank you.
Well, you're the one who's done it all. I'm just happy to help spark a little flame. Just incredible hearing you talk about the difference, even with that of the logical brain was like, oh my gosh, this is scary. And the intuition was like, I don't know why, but we're just going to go with it. So, all right, last question. Digital Business Evolution was named that because we are always evolving, right? And our businesses are a reflection of where we're at, and they can only grow to the extent that we grow, and we're always changing and evolving. So what type of evolution is on the horizon for you?
Oh, yes. I eventually one day want to open up a school somehow on intuition development. So that is my big dream, my big goal. So, but currently it's that building this new program about intuition. So
I love it. Megan, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. As always, if you love this episode, please take a screenshot, share it on social, tag me at I am Jessica DeRose, tag Megan at Coach Megan Nicole, and feel free to reach out to her for all of her cool tips and tricks and trainings. Make sure you follow along and lean into your intuition. Make sure you find a little bit of silence, a little bit of slowdown, and a little bit of trust in yourself. As always, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.